Hey guys, so how did you two get involved with the Aviary?
Well, it was something that was born out of a couple different things. I would say first, our desire to work with our producer, Jessica Rhodes and Andrew Miller. We'd known Jess since 2014, and she's been a big champion of Jen and I as writers, and she knew that we were looking to make our first feature. And so we had a bunch of different scripts and ideas that we were kicking around. And when the opportunity came through, the Aviary was sort of not only the script that we were most excited about putting in front of cameras, but also was something that we felt we could shoot safely in COVID because of the small cast and it being mostly outside. So it was just a really nice confluence of events and timing and excitement around the project.
And how was it like working with Malin and Lorenza on this? Because like you said, you have a small cast, but it's really stacked when you look at it, right? Because you have those two and you have the cult leader in this as well. I forget his name, but
Chris Messina,
Chris Messina, yeah. And they are all so wonderful. And I was talking to Malin and Lorenza Tuesday, and I said their chemistry together almost felt instant, like they've been watching their whole career from the beginning, because it just, they had this flow about them. So how was it like watching those two on set perform?
It was amazing. We were incredibly lucky. Everyone in our cast is incredibly talented, and there was just a really great, like, sort of like the movie coming together. Like, we got very lucky in how our cast came together. We had, as we were doing final rewrites on the movie, we were talking about, like, who do we want to play Jillian? And Malin was our first choice. We were like writing to her, sort of like knowing it was going to go out to her. But it's so rare that your first offer even like wants to have a meeting. And it took about a month, and we were getting to the point where we were thinking, okay, like, who do we go to next? And we got a call from her agent that she had read it and she had liked it and she wanted to have a meeting. And we just had a great talk with her about the film and the ideas of the movie and what it's like to make something that's like out in the desert and in the elements for a few weeks. And she was really excited to do all of those things. And then when we met with Lorenza, we actually met with her. I mean, this is all over Zoom, but the two of us together and Malin. And I think what you're saying of like their chemistry is so palpable. We even felt it on the Zoom. We were like, oh, this is going to be awesome. And we were already very excited about her. But as soon as we hung up with Lorenza, Malin texted us and was like, I love her. Like, let's do it. And we felt the same way. So yeah, it was amazing.
It was kind of nice because we were casting, just a handful of roles. I think we were able to really, we weren't stretched too thin in terms of like trying to go, oh my God, we got to get 8 people whose chemistry is all going to work together. We had these 2 leads that we knew, okay, if we can nail these 2, the movie's going to fly. And so that process was really important, both in pre-production and casting and, working with them on set.
Right. And there's a lot of examples of movies like this that's like a 1-person show or a 2-person show, like in Gerry with Matt Damon, Casey Affleck, and then there's Buried with Ryan Reynolds, and most recently with Gold with Zac Efron. So this made you kind of be like, okay, we can play with this whole scene location. So how was it like getting the location down for the Aviary as well, where you wanted to shoot and the process of that?
Yeah, it's funny that you bring up Gerry. That was something that we watched a lot during prep because Gerry does an incredible job of varying all of the desert spaces. Like, it always, every 10 minutes, you feel like they're in a slightly different place, even though you're constantly battling with just like, hey, we're in an open space. How do we block this? How do we shoot this? So that was like really that was a text for us in the preparation. And then as we were looking, that's exactly what we were looking for. We were like, how much variety can we find? Like, what are these different like rock formations and color variations and like places that have fields? And because it's a smaller movie, you have to find locations that can combo those things. So we would find like the place, like there's this great sort of like cave space and a great cliff space, and it's all within like a 5-minute walk. Like stuff like that was, you know, it was like putting a puzzle together.
Yeah, because as we researched Gerry, you know, because it was Gus Van Sant and Casey and Matt Damon, like I think they even that movie, we were like, oh my god, like they figured out how to use the desert. This is great. And then we started looking at it, and like they shot the ending in a desert in Argentina, and they shot the rest of it in like Utah, and like they were a small movie, but a different kind of small movie. And
right.
So we were like, you know,
it's kind of like how A24 is a small movie, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
so,
it's good to have goals.
Yeah. But we were, you know, for a minute we almost shot in New Mexico, and then COVID complicated that. So we ended up shooting in like outside of Los Angeles, and we learned, I feel like I learned more desert terms than a geologist would have. But we found all the spots we needed. And when you watch the movie, you know, we basically thought of it as acts. So like the first act has one very specific look, the second act has another look, and the third act has a third look that kind of tracks their descent into hell.
Right, and I want to go back to casting Chris Messina in this as the cult leader. I mean, you had to find somebody that had great charisma and can manipulate people very easily. So how was that process like getting Chris on board? And there are still so many recent cults still going on. It's kind of hard to believe how many are still out there. So did you two do research for how you wanted his character to come across?
Yeah, I mean, how we brought him onto the movie. We had been fans of his for a very long time, and he had been like on our list of people we thought would be great for the role. And Jessica had worked with him previously on Sharp Objects, so we had a bit of access there. And then when, kind of like Malin, when he read the script, he really loved it and wanted to talk to us. And a lot of the character building, I mean, obviously he existed on the page and we had a bunch of ideas, but Chris Messina is an incredible collaborator. He was shooting another movie while we were prepping this. So he was in North Carolina, but on the weekends we would get together over Zoom and have these meetings and talk through scenes and talk through costumes. And he would send us pictures about like, maybe he wears glasses like this, maybe he wears sweaters like this. And he's just so good at like every little piece, anything that doesn't hit completely honest for Chris. He'll be like, what about this? Is there something like, can we make this deeper? Can we make this better? And then we would just work through things. So like, I think it was great too. And that like, I think I would have been a lot more intimidated by him if we hadn't had this like workshopping before we made the movie. But by the time we were on set, it was like, oh, it's like working with my old friend, Chris Messina.
Yeah. And in terms of like building that cult leader character, I mean, we didn't want to pull from any one specific cult leader. And we knew that we wanted to, like, our rule that we brought to Chris was that that almost everything Seth says in the movie should sound pleasant, like should sound exciting and interesting and passionate. And that was one of the things we worked on with Chris, was because the draft that he read was, there was still some dialogue that he bumped on a little bit where he was like, you know, this sounds more intimidating than I think you guys were talking about. And we'd be like, you know what, you're right. That does sound like he's trying to kind of muscle his way. And let's focus on those moments and figure out how is he more just like the nicest guy you've ever met.
Well, that's where you find the manipulation. Like you want the words to say one thing and you want the performance to say another. So Chris was like, right, I can bring menace to like I love you. Like I can, like it's that contrast, I think, is what makes the performance like pull you in and keep you off balance the entire time.
Right. And how do you guys feel about this finally about to come out next Friday with select cinemas and on videos on demand, which now that kind of reaches more audience than it did in the past? So how do you feel about this kind of hybrid release of the Aviary?
It's an interesting question. I mean, I think we're thrilled that our first movie is coming out in theaters. And I think the VOD piece, I think, is really, with so much in the marketplace, I think it's really exciting that we're able to have a movie where, and this is something that we've discussed with Saban, the distributor, and their attitude towards the release strategy is, you know, we want to drive all of our resources to the moment that movie is available, because when people see it, we want them to be able to click on it and rent it immediately, which is different from how I grew up going to the movies, right. But makes a lot of sense. And so I think it's really great that we're able to have these multiple platforms and different ways for people to see it. You know, I would encourage anyone who has the opportunity to see it in a theater to see it in a theater, because it is, we designed it to be seen in a theater. We shot outside, wide open spaces. Our cinematographer, Ellie Smolkin, is a genius and made the movie look so expansive and so huge that, you know, I think it deserves to be seen on a big screen. But, you know, home viewing is where it's at right now. And I think people will enjoy it in their homes as well.
Jennifer, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think for both of us, it's a dream come true to go see our first movie in a movie theater. Like, that's what I've wanted since I was a child. So that piece is incredible. And then knowing that, you know, people in cities where the movie isn't playing can see it at home, having it sort of be all at once is interesting. Like, I'm not really like a box office head person. Like, I see all the movies that I want to see, and I'm very excited to go see them. And I try and see as many things in a theater as I can. That's just how I am. And I think an amazing part of living in Los Angeles and being part of a filmmaking community.
Right.
But yeah, like I want people to see the movie. I want to talk to people about the movie, and however that is, and however they feel comfortable seeing it right now is what's most important.
Well, thank you two so much for joining me on Infamous Artists today. It's been really fun, and congratulations on the film.
Yeah, thank you, man. Thanks for having
so
us. I like your posters.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, Malin said the same thing.
Yeah, it's great. I have to get more. You've outdone me. I just have the one. I need to get the spread.
Oh, I even got more on the opposite end, too.
Oh, fantastic.
Well, yeah, you need something to look at.
Yeah.
All right, you two have a good afternoon.
Thanks, man. You too.
You too.